In this video, I am going to be spending 1 month in Minecraft's Frozen Peaks. The Frozen Peaks are a cold, harsh wasteland with nothing but ice and snow as far as the eye can see. Will I be able to survive? Make sure to keep watching to find out. To start my adventure, I climbed the nearest mountain to get a better view of the area. My goal was to find a pillager outpost where I could collect wood and make some basic tools. I didn't see any outposts, but I did spot a ruined portal in the distance. I quickly looted it and then continued searching for the pillagers. A few minutes of walking later, I found what I was looking for. I dodged the pillagers guarding the entrance and then climbed to the top floor. From there, I was able to progress through the early stages of the game by mining the wood and stone from the outpost. Using some of my limited wood, I crafted a boat. This allowed me to travel super fast and not lose any hunger. It was almost night, and I needed to find another outpost fast to get more supplies. I was just about to give up when I saw a dark outline on the horizon. As I got closer, I realized it was a giant outpost in the middle of the ocean. I boated over to the new outpost and then used similar methods to raid it to the one I had found earlier. Wood was going to be scarce during this challenge, so I started the day by gathering a bunch from the outpost. While doing this, I was attacked by pillagers multiple times and eventually released the iron golem to deal with them. I then rewarded the golem by harvesting all of its iron. As I was chopping away, I heard the sound of a screaming goat. I put it in a boat and then proceeded to almost die to a group of pillagers when I went to gather more resources. I didn't want my base to be an outpost, so I traveled back to spawn with my goat in search of a location to build. I decided to set up shop in a mountain that was close to both the ocean and the first outpost I found. The next 4 days were spent building the base. I started by digging out an area to make a small cave. I also made a temporary potato farm to get more food. Once I had finished digging, I gathered snow from a nearby hill. I then crafted the snowballs into blocks and then covered the cave with them. After that, I added a small sleeping area, storage unit, and a more permanent farm. Overall, I think the interior turned out well, especially considering the limited resources. I still need to make an entrance though. With the base mostly finished, I decided to take a break and go on a long mining trip. The first cave I explored was underwater and didn't have much except for some iron and coal. My adventure began in earnest when I entered a different, much larger cave that was located in the side of a mountain. My plan was to gather enough iron to make a full set of armor and then travel deeper to find some diamonds. This went well, although I did have to deal with the occasional zombie or skeleton. On day 8, I found a mineshaft which I entered confidently due to my shiny new armor. That was until I was poisoned by a cave spider and almost died. The mineshaft did have a few chests, one of which contained melon seeds. These would be very useful for food. After leaving the mineshaft, I discovered my first diamond. Unfortunately, it was only one, but I was sure I would find more. And find more I did. 2 to be exact. Seriously, since when are diamond veins so small? A little while later, I accidentally looked an enderman in the eye and was forced to use my water treading skills to avoid being killed. During the rest of the trip, I found 2 more 1 veins of diamonds, which brought my total up to 5. I used 3 of these to craft a pickaxe and then gathered a bunch of obsidian. I returned to the surface on day 10 and was greeted by the sounds of the wandering trader. Normally, I would not be excited to see him, but when you live in a world filled with ice and snow, you take whatever you can get. The trader was offering a sapling, which I needed desperately, so I trapped it in a boat and then traveled home to get some emeralds. Let's not talk about what happened to the llamas. One of the benefits of living in the mountains is that there is a lot of emerald ore. On my short walk home, I was able to get 2 easy emeralds without going out of my way. I started the next day by using the bones I had collected from the caves to grow my crops. With all the potatoes harvested, I could finally leave behind my diet of rotten flesh. Once I had loaded up on food, I went looking for the emerald to buy a sapling. I found the emerald ore in the ceiling of a cave filled with mobs. After grabbing the emerald, I returned to the trader, bought a sapling, walked back home, and then planted it in front of my house. Now that I had a supply of food and decent gear, I decided to visit the Nether. I built the portal at the back of my base, and then headed in. My goal was to find a fortress as quickly as possible, so I picked a direction and started looking. I did not film this video using Optifine, so I wasn't able to turn off the Nether fog. This made things a bit more difficult, but I was still able to find the fortress before the end of day 13. After arriving at the fortress, I located the nearest blaze spawner and started farming rods. I almost died multiple times during this process due to my subpar armor. Luckily, my PvP skills are kind of decent, and I was able to escape with 11 rods. With the blaze rods gathered, I explored the rest of the fortress and managed to get a diamond, some saddles, and nether wart. Not the best haul, but also not the worst. While returning home, I got the return to sender advancement for launching a fireball back at this annoying ghast. There was still some time left on day 14, so I carved out some of the ice lake and went fishing. This gave me some extra food and a name tag. I'd honestly take this loot over what I got from the fortress chests any day. In order to use the name tag, I needed an anvil, so I grabbed half of my iron and crafted one. It wasn't the best use of resources, but I was willing to do it for my goat. Instead of coming up with a name myself, I decided to ask all of you for one instead. Of all the suggestions that I saw, one seemed like it would fit the best. The name I chose was, drumroll please, Lord Screamington Billieth the 14th. After naming the goat, I chopped a few trees, and then traveled to the Nether to barter with some piglins. I quickly ran out of gold to trade, and mined the Nether gold ore to get more. While doing this, I also harvested 2 ender pearls from the nearby enderman. The second round of trading gave me 6 more pearls and a bunch of other goodies. It's been a long time since I last did this, and I had forgotten how much loot these guys give. I started the next day by harvesting the potatoes and crafting a few eyes of ender. Before setting out to look for the stronghold, I made some changes to the front of my base, as it was currently just a door in the middle of the mountain. Once I had run out of snow to build with, I threw my first eye and began my search for the stronghold. By using boats on the ice, I was able to travel super fast and managed to find the stronghold early on day 17. The first major room that I found was the library, where I chopped a bunch of the bookshelves and looted a few chests that contained paper and enchanted books. Shortly after, I discovered the end portal, which unfortunately only contained 1 eye of ender. I definitely was not ready to fight the dragon yet, so I built a nether portal and linked it to my home portal for quicker access to the stronghold. With the books from the library, I built my first and probably last enchanting setup. I then decorated it similarly to the rest of the base by covering the walls with snow. After setting up the enchanting room, I traveled to the Nether and mined quartz for XP. Once I hit level 30, I returned to my base and enchanted my pickaxe to try and get fortune. I unfortunately did not, and the process repeated. See what I did there? Fortune, unfortunately. Alright, let's just get back to the video. On my second attempt, I managed to get efficiency, fortune, and unbreaking. It wasn't the perfect pickaxe, but I wasn't going to complain. Using my remaining levels, I added low-level enchants to my armor. I also enchanted my bow, and added a few extra books from the stronghold, which made it surprisingly powerful. Day 20 was spent terraforming the outside of my base, and adding a pathway that led to the door. I wasn't super happy with how the entrance turned out, but it didn't matter that much as the interior was the main focus of the build. Before fighting the dragon, I wanted to improve my gear more, so I headed to the stronghold to mine for diamonds. Having a lot of food made the caving experience a lot more enjoyable, as I didn't have to constantly worry about starving. While looking for shiny blue rocks, I discovered a skeleton spawner. Normally, I would be super excited to find one of these, but I didn't have enough time to set up a farm and settled for looting the chests instead. My good luck continued throughout the rest of day 22, as I was able to find a total of 8 more diamonds. Upon returning home, I smelted the ores I had collected and used my diamonds to craft an axe and a pair of pants. I enchanted the pants with protection 2 and the axe with efficiency 1 and unbreaking 1. I then used another protection 2 book to bring my pants up to protection 3. On day 24, I was back in the Nether, bartering with the piglins to get more ender pearls. I was also able to get an extra pearl from a nearby enderman. Things were going smoothly until I missed a shot on a ghast, which proceeded to strike a zombie piglin. By bridging over a lava lake, I was able to lure the piglins to jump off a cliff to remove their aggro. For those who have dealt with zombie piglins in the past, this usually does not go nearly as well as it did here. The rest of the day was spent bartering with the piglins, who gave me the remaining pearls that I needed. Lord Screamington Billieth the 14th had waited patiently in my base for over 20 days, and I decided that it was finally time to build him something. Similar to the enchanting room, I dug out a small cave in the wall and covered it in snow. Once that was done, I added a water trough and carpeted area for the goat to theoretically sleep on. After finishing the room, I added veins of calcite on the walls of the base to give it more texture. This gave the interior a more custom feel, as calcite does not normally generate in frozen peaks. I wanted to relax a bit before the dragon fight, so I enchanted a fishing rod with unbreaking and lure, and then went fishing. While fishing, I was rewarded with an infinity bow. This was going to be super useful in removing the need for multiple stacks of arrows. I needed a few more levels to combine the new bow with my current one, so I headed to the Nether and mined quartz. After combining the bows, I mined more quartz, and then used spare iron to repair my armor. Day 28 was spent preparing for the dragon fight. This involved organizing my inventory and getting the materials to go end raiding after the fight. Once I was ready, I returned to the stronghold and looked for creepers to get gunpowder to make rockets. I unfortunately did not find any. However, I did discover a new section of the stronghold which contained multiple loot chests. In these chests, I managed to find an extra diamond and, much more surprisingly, an other side disc. While adding the eyes to the end portal, I accidentally threw one of my eyes off into space. I had extra blaze powder at home, so there weren't any real consequences other than having to walk all the way back to my base to get a single item. The actual dragon fight went similarly to most. I destroyed all the crystals with my infinity bow and then focused on shooting the dragon. Considering this is the final boss of the game, I really think Mojang should make the fight significantly more difficult, as there wasn't a single time that I felt like I was going to die. After finishing off the dragon, I grabbed the egg off the pedestal and then teleported through the end gateway. By cranking my render distance up, I was able to find an end city quickly, although I did have to do a lot of bridging over the void. I didn't have a lot of time left in this challenge, so instead of raiding the entire city, I stacked up to the end ship and immediately took the elytra. The 2 loot chests contained a bunch of goodies, but there wasn't anything I was super excited about other than the wings. Using the elytra, I returned home to my base. Day 30. I had officially survived 1 month in Minecraft's Frozen Peaks. To celebrate this, I used one of my diamonds to craft a jukebox, and then relaxed to the sound of Otherside. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like and subscribing. But other than that, this has been GlitchNOut. Goodbye everyone!